Challenge number 3, don't lie with metrics. Disraeli said there are 3 types of lie. There are lies, damn lies, and statistics. And we can do anything with metrics. Now, I'm sure everyone in this room does not intentionally go out their way to lie with the statistics, the metrics that they are actually presenting to managers. But let's have a look at this graph. I've got a question. This graph shows the number of days and the number of defects. Now, this is not cumulative. This is sort of every day. We're finding different numbers. So, okay, on a day-by-day basis, would you say the number of defects, bugs, is increasing? Yes, Lloyd. Yes, Lloyd. Right, okay. Now, that is true, but let's look at this in a different light. Let's now take into account how much effort was expended to find those defects. And we call this a value called defect measure rate. And if we start to plot the defect measure rate, so every day we've found those defects, but how many hours we've expended in finding them, and now plot it, that's coming down. That's giving me confidence. Same data, different view. Different decision that comes out of that view. This is important. Now let's look at the same graph with a different scale. Anyone done this before to make their figures look good? Skew the scale, start at 20 rather than 0. Okay, what about these pie charts? Anyone use pie charts? Did you know where they come from? Florence Nightingale in the 1800s produced pie charts as a way of showing the management in the sort of hospitals a clear description of what is going on. That's how they were produced. Now, this here is the requirements, okay? Requirement bugs. Pie charts always add up to 100. So the decision here is requirements are bad. Not true. How many numbers do we have? What are the numbers put into place? We've got 14, yes, it's 14, and we've only got 1 in terms of the environment. But it's inconclusive. This is basic mathematics and statistics. The numbers are not significant. Now, I'm sorry to take you back to school days, but we talked about significant numbers. And if we can have some conclusions. We can't conclude anything from those numbers because they're too small. This is basic maths. And yet some of us are putting this in our diagrams saying requirements are bad. We can't conclude anything from it. Now, we've been talking as well, and I know other people have been talking about something called DDP, or some people call defect removal efficiency. It's a measure of effectiveness of testing. How many defects we find in testing compared to those found afterwards as well. So, what about test effectiveness after 1 month of life? Project 1, 85%, Project 2, 60%, Project 3, 90%, Project 4, 10%. So, reward Team 3, punish Team 4. Correct? Be careful. Let's look at the numbers. We have 9 defects here and 1 defect here. These were all low priority. This was a showstopper. We need to interpret the numbers. And going back to basic mathematics, this is inconclusive. We need higher numbers. So be careful with what we represent in our dashboards. So suggestion here is to interpret those figures. They must be significant to carry any weight in them at all. Now, test cases. I like illustrations. Test cases. How many people measure test cases? Report test cases. We've run 10,000 test cases, yeah? Let me show you what I mean about this. I have a problem with the concept of test case. Now, I've got 1 case, correct? Okay, so I'm going to run this test case, 1 case. Actually, let me show you. I haven't got 1 case. I have another case. So I now have 2 cases. But in fact, if I open this case, I have another case. So I've got 3 cases, correct? But if I open this, I have another case. Oh, and another one. They're all cases. Let me explain this even more. Let me give you a GUI. Because this is really important, because again, lying with our metrics. What is a test case in this example? Developers sitting there. Well, I've got one test case with a course detail here of a long course detail name. I have another test case with a course detail of a short name. I have another one with an invalid name. I have another one with a valid, but it's middle. And he said, I've got a third, and a fourth date is invalid date, a date is a valid date. Do you see where I'm going here? So the developer has got 10,000 test cases. The system tester comes along and says, I've got a test case to book a course and click enter. They've got one test case. What is correct? And yet we report these to management. And it's no wonder management say, what are you on about? 10,000, is that good? I like the analogy of a case because we need to understand what's in the case to see if it's of worth. You see, that's what airlines do. I know they look at how many cases, but they weigh the case. And that's a reflection of what's in the case. So isn't it more important to report to management what's in those test cases rather than the numbers? So that's my challenge to you.